Yo, where we at with it? Yo, there we go. Man, my bad. It's 9:02. I'm sorry I left you. Oh man. Yo. Made in the 1980s. There we go. This thing is on. Appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you watching when you can. I like doing this late. That's what she said. But no, seriously. I like doing this late because a little bit about me before we get started for today. I've always wanted to do a night show, like a night radio show, and you know, up late talking music. One of my favorite things to do in my life since I was like 14 or 15 years old. So maybe one day, if I keep chasing my dreams, I'm gonna get that night show. It's still on my bucket list of things to do. It's still on my goal sheet. It's still a dream job to have a night show on the radio. So that's why I like to do this late. So, sorry if this doesn't correspond with your work schedule. I'm living the dream, as they say. Okay. And I thank you all for tuning in when you can tune in. Um, We're going to talk Quincy Jones. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. I will not and cannot say that enough. But real quick, man, I just want to say this about voting. And whether you're passionate about voting or not voting, for me personally, I don't care about what you decide to do. This is your house. This is your life. This is your world. You do exactly what you want to do with it. Um, my only gripe about this era, this 2024 election, is that I've been seeing updates on social media platforms about people being under duress, people being attacked, people fighting, and crimes being committed. And, you know, I'm not saying that, the implications of Project 2025 aren't real, even though I haven't read all 900 pages. I have not. But man, I wish that this era we were fighting for something a little just more prestigious, I guess, a little realer than just the fact that this business owner is running for president. You know, not saying that I'm definitely surviving the 50s and 60s, right? Not saying that. But this ain't like the Lincoln era. This ain't JFK, King, and X era. You know what I mean? Like, we're not fighting for the right to vote for a class of people. We're not voting for like classism. We're not trying to fight Jim Crow. We're not battling slavery. And y'all are out here running amok. And it's disgusting. I just want to say that. This is, as far as I'll go, again, your vote, your choice, just like it's your body, your choice, right? So whatever you decide to do, do it. I don't think that you have to publicize it. I don't think that you're necessarily a good or a bad person if you do or don't. Hey, it's a lot of you piss poor humans going out there and voting, and you're no better than some educated or not so educated person that decides not to. Whatever stance you take is a stance you take. We have to bring back minding your own effing business. We got to bring that back. Mind your business. Who cares? Like, what do you gain from telling someone about themselves for their right to vote or not, and who they vote for or not? And again, if you know your history, you know your history. And if you don't, you don't. If you feel that you're educated enough to vote, if you feel that you're uneducated enough, so you shouldn't vote, cool. I think everybody needs to mind the business that pays them as far as everyone else. Now, because the real gripe here, the real battle here is us against the government. Don't be distracted. The presidential agenda will not be compromised. And the Electoral College has twice in a row told us who we're going to vote for president. We got a guy who has a 2 out of 3 chance of becoming the president, and he hasn't won one popular vote yet. These are just facts. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Prayers to everybody. Healing energy, positive energy, no sucker energy. I'm anti-sucker energy always. And that's that. Just put that to bed. It's time to talk music. I got Mike on. Pause. I got Michael Jackson. I should have wore my Beat It shirt. And when I say the Beat It shirt, I got the actual shirt that Mike wore in Beat It, not the Michael Jackson Beat It on the shirt. No, the joint he was wearing when he was resting on the cot before he decided to get up, put his clothes on, and dance gangsters to harmony. I got that shirt on, son. It's in my closet. Maybe next time if you haven't seen it already. But man, the long, illustrious, impactful, not to be duplicated career of Quincy Jones has unfortunately come to an end. Quincy Delight Jones the second or Jr. has unfortunately passed away at the age of 91. And 2024 has taken a lot of people. And whether young or old, timely or untimely, it's all unfortunate. And I want to take the time today to celebrate Quincy Jones in real time. And I may, just like I did DJ Clark Kent, and I may just do this not for people when they pass, but just to let people know how dope I think they are in real time. Quincy Jones docs were coming out, interviews were coming out, so people are aware of who Quincy Jones is. I remember before the pandemic, or maybe like right at the peak of the pandemic when the doc came out, and then all of a sudden everybody was saying that Quincy Jones is the greatest producer of all time, and I think that's disrespect. I think it's disrespect because when you just call him just like a producer or like a beat maker, it's that cheapens the resume and the legacy to me. I'm not saying that he's not, because he's obviously produced, and we're going to get into that too, as I definitely share some of my favorite Quincy contributions. But I was having the conversation. Matter of fact, I think this was on Banging on Lunch Tables with my man Jones. When we were having a conversation about producers and or like black producers music or whatever, and he threw Quincy Jones' name out there, and I was like, stop, that's disrespect. And he was like, how? I was like we got to stop. I was like, now that we've seen the docs, now that we got up to speed, we can't just start throwing Quincy Jones in like producer battle conversations. Like, he ain't Just Blaze, respectfully. He's not Dr. Dre, or he's not Diddy, or just these DJ Premier. He's not these guys, and I mean that respectfully, because there's tiers, there's levels. I think the first thing that Quincy Jones should be known for above all is being a composer. A composer. And the difference between a composer and a producer, for the people that are listening or that may be just unaware, a composer creates the sounds and the staffs and the key changes and the melodies and harmonies that some, especially hip hop producers, will end up sampling. There is a true art and a true skill that comes with sampling and creating a new sound within a sound. But let's be clear. The person that says, oh, the drums are going to sound like this, Then I want the guitars to come in here. And then 8 measures later, I want violins here. And then I want the trumpets to do this and bring the French horn in. That is otherworldly. You got to understand that the creation of music, even with all this technology, nothing still beats the people that can literally hear all of that in their mind and put it on paper. And that's what Quincy Jones did. He took sounds in his mind and he put them on paper, and he wrote a staff. Rappers, you call them bars. And at 4 counts of each measure, he writes out meticulously the different sounds that he wanted. And he would hire musicians to play this for me. But he could play himself. He was a trumpet player. He played with Louis Armstrong. You know what I'm saying? And Dizzy Gillespie, he's literally one of those people. I'm sorry. I'm throwing stuff. I'm so passionate about Quincy Jones and his contributions to American history and American culture and Black culture and hip hop culture and TV and music and movies. Like, he truly is one of those geniuses that didn't have to call himself a genius, because the things that he were doing were just so genius, but he was so cavalier about it at the same time. That is, to me, what makes Quincy Jones such a special person, such a great contributor to life. You know, as you grow up in life, and maybe this is me, maybe this is not you, but this is me. As I grow up in life, and I look at all of the people that I admire, like, who really did it, who really do it. You don't hear too many of them wasting time speaking about what they've done or how they've did it. It's like the resume just precedes them. But then I think at the same time, man, what is it like to grow up in that time where the money is secondary, where it ain't about being famous, it's about meeting your idols or your hopes to collaborate with the people that you also feel are great. You know, if you're watching the Quincy Jones documentary, you'll find out that he wasn't trying to get the bag. You know, he wouldn't like, oh, I'm trying to get on. Like, that's not his story. He was just like, yo, I really enjoy doing this, and I want to do this because I love to do this. And I think, if anything, at least for me, what I'm going to take, I'm not going to tell anybody how to think here. I'm going to tell you what I think. I will forever take with me that Quincy Jones loved the art. He just loved the arts, whatever it is. He didn't put a limit on his art. He knew his capability and he pushed himself even further. And even with that, you have so many people that helped him push along even further. Like, there are some moments in Quincy Jones' life where you're like, wow, he got that opportunity to work with this legendary act here, or this legacy legendary person here, or these icons and these legends, but it's like, and they're seeking him out. And he's not really there beating his chest, talking about how great he is or anything of that nature. He's just being. He's just being. And that's awesome. I need to pull some of that for myself. I need to pull some of that as I think about my next 20, 30, and hopefully 40 to 50 years. I really do, man. I I plan to be 115. Obviously, God has the final say. But I would absolutely love to just be in the space where I can contribute to what I love and just receive the really the feeling that I'm sure in some respects Quincy Jones had to have had just in his life. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing the things that he's done. Um, before I get into my favorite Quincy contributions, I'm working on it's not really an art piece because it was, but it's gonna be a reminder. And I've had this on my mind since the pandemic, since August of 2020, maybe even a little bit before. And the idea was called If Quincy Stopped at 40, because my 40th birthday was on the horizon at the time I had this idea. I think it was 38 or 39. And we live in this time now where if you haven't done it by 30, people think you're a failure. If you haven't achieved your highest accomplishments by 25, 28, people think you wash, they think you dusty, you think you old. Like never before have we just sent so many like just people that are full of life to the graveyard just because they're having more birthdays. And if you're not careful, especially if you're a creative and a creator of any kind, you start to look at that and you start to feel away. And with that, I thought about Quincy Jones. And the thing is, if Quincy Jones heard some of the stuff that happens now, like, oh, if you're doing this by 30, then get out of here. By 40, you better have this, this, and this accomplished. If he would have did that, we would have never got Thriller. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, we would have never like we're celebrating 40 years of Thriller this year, right? 2024 was 30 years of Thriller. Or wait, I'm sorry. Hold on here. Let's just I want to make sure I got the years right. Okay, so November of 1982 is the official release date of Thriller. Quincy Jones was born in 1933. 43, 53, 63, 73. So by 73, he was already 40 years old. So think about how much of his career just restarts when we get to 1980. He's already 40 years old by 73. So we don't get Thriller. We don't get Off the Wall. We don't get Bad. You don't get The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You don't, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get Secret Garden. Y'all love Secret Garden, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't think The Wiz is out yet. And then like 78, 79. Yeah, because he still got Young Mike in there. But the point I'm making is when I had a chance to really look at his body of work, and I was like, wow, you know what? He had a whole other career, a whole reintroduction, in a whole new lane by the time he was 40 years old. And here we are sitting in a day and age where people will write you off at 31. And that's why you can't listen to the people that have never thought about where you're going, let alone being there. It's literally why you create until you die, and why it's never too late, no matter what the memes say, no matter what the girl that you can't hit anyway is going to say, or the dudes that don't want to hang out with you anyway are going to say. We have to, like, the creators, the artsies, the weirdos, like, we all have to get into our own community and talk amongst ourselves and build and plan and display amongst us. What we do ain't for everybody, and we need to get back to that. If there's one piece of segregation that needs to happen, it's the creatives from the non-creatives. The spectators from the sporters, and we got to encourage each other to keep going because we're all one piece away. Whether that's a piece of content, that's a song, that's an acting role, what no matter what it is, you're one performance away. You're always just one away from it being the one, and then everybody wanting your art and your love and your passion for whatever it is that you do. And I think Quincy Jones' life and legacy is a great representation of that. So, man, rest in peace, Quincy Jones. It's time for me to get into my list. I had to make notes. Um, so you know, hopefully you feel me. That's what she said. And hopefully you gain some new information that you may not have knew about Quincy Jones. And look, and these are just some of my favorites. Okay. If I gave you everything that I knew or thought that Quincy Jones did, we'd be here for hours. And unfortunately, I just don't have that time. Um, but maybe one day we can get on here. I get on some Casanat stuff and we'll be on here like for 12 hours and I run down a list of everything great from a specific artist or creator. So let's just start with my honorable mention, right? My honorable mentions is going to be one Hickey Burr, which is the Bill Cosby show theme. And not for nothing, I do believe, even though like the Bill Cosby show theme, I think that's for like a comedy album because it's actually a collaboration with those two. I think personally that the actual Cosby Show theme song becomes inspired by this, especially certain seasons. I think it becomes inspired by this. I want to say maybe specifically maybe like season three or four, when they where they're dancing and they're all dressed up, with the real jazzy one. I believe that one is definitely a callback to being inspired by the Quincy Jones, the Bill Cosby show theme. And also, man, hey, look, Frank Sinatra and Bob James. Quincy Jones has collaborative albums with both of these gentlemen. I know "L.A. Is My Lady" is one of them that Frank and Quincy did, and there is um, another album because they did the most notable track from them is "Fly Me to the Moon," which is a really big Sinatra hit. You know, I'm a pretty big Frank Sinatra fan. You know what I'm saying? I won't lie to y'all. I won't cap to y'all. And I know more than My Way, even though I do believe that My Way is one of the greatest songs ever written. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to both Frank and Sonny Burke. You know what I'm saying? That is one of the few songs that actually gets me emotional in life as I just like, even though it's so cliche, so many people have done it. But like, if you really listen to like the second, third, and fourth verses of My Way, and depending on how you live your life, it does really resonate. It is a timeless classic. And so even from that, obviously Quincy Jones hearing that. And then they go on to do, I think, two or three projects together. That's astounding. I don't have a lot of favorite tracks from either of those because hey, look, Bob James does jazz. You know what I'm saying? Bob James, where would hip hop be without Bob James? I ask that question a lot. Um, so the fact that Quincy Jones got a chance to collaborate with both of those gentlemen, and then they've created some great art. If you're looking for a break from just all the madness of maybe talentless music that exists in your world, or you just want to dig into the crates, I definitely just look up, the Bob James and Quincy Jones collab album, and the Frank Sinatra and Quincy Jones collab album. It's the joint that he does with the one he does with Bob Quincy and Bob is the Bold Conceptions. It's the Bob James Trio. That's the name of the album. Um, I might do a Bob James joint before he even you know, I shouldn't say it like that. I was gonna say check out of here, but again, I think it's just important to start appreciating like art, artistry, craft, composers just more. But let's get to my favorites. You know what I'm saying? Some of my favorite moments that I can tie to my life. Okay. And at number 10, or wait, is it number 10? I don't know. Listen, we're not doing a real countdown. I'll Be Good to You. Shaka Khan, Ray Charles, Back on the Block album. Why do I have this as one of my favorite contributions? Because I just associate it with being a kid in the 80s, made in the 1980s, by the way. And I remember this song playing often, not only on Video Soul, but in the house as my mom would clean up or be cooking or whatever. And then just the Back on the Block album was in rotation. It stayed in rotation. Quincy Jones, even the Q's Juke Joint. Both of those albums played in our home. So it's kind of just ingrained into just me remembering how I grew up, where I grew up, and who I grew up around. And I'll Be Good to You was always a standout track. I know it gets a lot of flack now, but We Are the World. Hey, listen, We Are the World is it's a special song again if you are truly like an 80s baby in the 80s head. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is because this is all things 80s. This is Quincy. This is Mike. This is Cyndi Lauper. This is Huey Lewis. This is Bruce Springsteen. Like some of the biggest stars of the 80s ever come together because Quincy Jones wants a song to benefit Africa. That in itself is an incredible feat. And no matter how you feel about the song, we are now what 40 years removed or almost 40 years from removed from that moment, and we haven't seen it again. We haven't seen it for a greater cause. We haven't seen it come together. You know what I'm saying? I know Black Men United drop. You will know. I know Khaled tried something with a few guys that we actually love and respect, but it wouldn't We Are the World, fam. It wouldn't that. So, you know, uh, that's just what it is. Um, this may seem a little crazy, but we're gonna add it. Okay. Another one of my favorite contributions by Quincy Jones, his daughter, Rashida Jones. I think she's a super dope and funny actress. I remember her from being in Boston Public, which was one of my favorite shows. I hate when it got canceled. And she was also in The Office, which is for me probably my favorite, if not top two sitcoms of all time. I personally love The Office. And that style of just sitcom and comedy. You know, I mean, obviously Parks and Rec has done it. Now you got Abbott Elementary doing it. So it's great. I love the concept and that style of comedy and sitcom. If I could ever be a guest, if I'm ever important enough to be an extra or a guest on one of those shows, gonna go crazy. Right. Um, this one, I think everybody should just know this. You know, I think this is one of these cultural moments where you either know or you don't. But I got on my list of favorite contributions from Quincy Jones. I got the End of the Heat of the Night theme. Yes, I got the In the Heat of the Night theme because you got to understand what it's like to be at your grandma's house and In the Heat of the Night on come on, and you singing with your whole chest, heart, and soul when Ray Charles get to the end of In the Heat of of the night. And respect to the choir, but when it's the ISO on Ray, that's the fire one. The choir do they thing when they add it, like it's the extra elements. I get it. Let Quincy cook. But when the ISO is on Ray and he just ended on the falsetto, fire. That's the one. That's the one. Hey, I don't remember too many episodes of In the Heat of the Night, but I absolutely sing the life out of In the Heat of the Night's theme song. Maybe you just got to be black and from the 80s to understand. I don't know what to tell you. My man, what up? Shout out to, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wait. No, I didn't know that. That's dope. I don't want to butcher her name. It's Kidana Jones, right? Um, Howard's girlfriend in the movie Black and White. I thought I seen that. Maybe I didn't see that movie. But yes, hey, but shout out to her as well. Also, okay, so here may be a little something that's like history driven for y'all. Maybe you didn't know this. Another one of my favorite contributions from Quincy Jones is Soul Bossa Nova. Some of you may recognize it as being the Austin Powers theme. But yes, Soul Bossa Nova, composed and produced by Quincy Jones. Yeah. Quincy Jones did that. And obviously, Ludacris sampled that for #1 spot with the Austin Powers theme video. Don't worry, the rap nerd bag is in full effect. You already know the vibes. And matter of fact, after this one, we're going to get into it. Man, another contribution, one of my favorite contributions from Quincy Jones, because we don't want to leave every kid out, but we don't want to leave, nothing out, because obviously his greatest contribution, he might feel, is his children. But I got his son QD3 on here. Why do I have QD3 on here? Because without QD3, we don't get the Menace to Society soundtrack. I think he's also produced like what was it, Out All Night? I think that was his show for sure. And not for nothing, one of my favorite pieces of hip hop content, one of my favorite hip hop series ever, the Beef DVD series, QD3. We don't get that if Quincy Jones don't produce this gentleman and coach him and nurture him to greatness along with his mother. So yeah, QD3, man, a great producer of Black cinema, American cinema, soundtracks. I think he's a great just producer. And when you see that QD3 at the end of the credits, you got quality. At least I know that's how I feel. That's how I felt throughout the 90s. Every time I seen the QD3 on the screen, I was like, yo, this is it. This is it. I know this is official. And hey, in the Beef series, first of all, if you don't know what the Beef series is and you claim to love hip hop, you need to shut up talking to me until you watch everything and come back with a full book report. MLA format, please. You dig? Hey, Sanford and Son theme song. Yes, hey, you know what? Hey, and Kaleidoscope. I do love it, but it's not on my list. I thought that was low-hanging fruit, but I think I got some dope stuff that maybe might even stump you on this one. So let's get into it. Rap nerd bag activated right here. One of my favorite contributions from Quincy Jones. The song called Summer in the City. Song is fire. It's a smooth groove. But the other thing that makes this song so great is that this is the sample from the Far Side's "Passing Me By." Son, when I tell you "Passing Me By" is one of my, like, favorite just, like, rap beats, like, it's an understatement, and not for nothing, I always thought that, maybe that was also produced by, like, a Q-Tip or, you know what I'm saying, or Alicia Heat Muhammad because I wasn't aware. I I wasn't aware of, who was really putting it together as far as the, beats and production. I just assume people were in certain roles that they were not, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, hey, and also that's also not a track produced by Jay Dilla. So, but shout out to Jay Swift, killed that. Another song that you may not know sampled Summer in the City, The Roots clones from the Philadelphia Half-Life album. It is and Clones is the first single off Philadelphia Half-Life. I know people may think it's Concerto or the Desperado or What They Do, but no, those are like the second and third singles. Clones was the first one because Mars and Dice Raw are on that joint. And in the transition, because there's no hook, they just rapping. And the sample between the verses are from Summer in the City. Here we go. I'm sure you want one more. And I got one more for sure. Body Heat, Quincy Jones. Why do I love this one? One, because Mobb Deep, they did an interpolation on the Infamous album for Temperatures Rising for this joint. That the temperature's rising and it's no surprising. That's from Body Heat. That's from Body Heat. Those are the lyrics from Body Heat. But homegirl who does the like interpolation of it, one smoked it, and that's from this album. But also, R.I.P. to the legend Pac. But how do you want it? This is the song they sample for How Do You Want It? And it's the groove is extra smooth, extra smooth. And I think it's one of those samples that when you hear it, yeah, you just gotta let it cook. You just gotta let it cook. So yeah, that Body Heat, the How Do You Want It sample, crazy, crazy. Um, Now this next one, um, blew my mind, bro. I didn't even think that it was possible for me to be this thrown off by this, but when I tell y'all Havoc is always in my top 10, and on some days he's absolutely in my top 5, I don't want to hear any arguing. I don't care who sold more records. I don't care who you think is craftier or better. Havoc of Mobb Deep, rest in peace, Prodigy, sampled Kitty with the bent frame for Shook Ones. And be clear, it ain't the sample you think it is. It's not. It's not. Havoc took 3 seconds of Kitty with the Bent Frame by Quincy Jones and created a classic. And I know what y'all thinking. It ain't that part. It ain't that part. It ain't. But when you hear it and you gotta listen to the whole joint, hey, look, it ain't at the beginning. It ain't in the first 7 seconds. You really gotta know the music. You got to listen to the songs. You got to know the music to hear exactly what I'm talking about. But when you do, you just understand that this is just one more reason why I got Havoc firmly in my top producers ever. And some people got to move around. That's what I'll say. And obviously, Havoc because QU Hectic is another sample. I forget the song off the top of my head, but Havoc obviously heavily inspired by Quincy Jones. And it's great how again he's a special producer because he's taken certain sounds and made songs that don't even sound like the samples. Like I salute RZA and Havoc for the way they chop samples so crazy, like, and they're literally taking sounds. They're not just looping grooves all the time or looping melodies, which is that's a special talent. Special talent. Kid with the bent frame. Okay, hey, look. Rounding out my list here. I only got two more for y'all. Technically two more. It's actually a little bit more than two more, but it's two more. Favorite Quincy Jones contribution. It literally is number two on my list. If 2 and 1 are irreplaceable for me. So out of everything he's done, man, number two for me will always be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It will be. And even now that I know the story, now that Quincy and Will have taken time out to actually tell us the story about how the Fresh Prince came about, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the TV show that is, I love it even more. It's even greater. It's even greater now that I know the backstory. And it's just a reminder of how just innovative is the word for Quincy Jones, man. And the guy that does the Sanford and Son theme song, fast forwards, what, 20 years, 25 years, and then does the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Son, talk about keep creating, keep working your craft, keep doing the do. That is Quincy Jones for me. And man, there can only be one. There can only be one. If you don't know where I'm going with the number one spot, I don't know what to quite tell you about your life and your circumstances. But man, listen, my favorite, all-time favorite contribution from Quincy Jones, from his mind to my ears, not quite Kaleidoscope. It's not that. My number one contribution from Quincy Jones, my number one contribution from Quincy Jones' mind to my ears is affectionately known forever to me as the Michael Jackson run, the unprecedented run, the unduplicated run. The no matter how many hits you may have in your arsenal, you don't have a run like this. Whenever we talk about 3 album runs, there is one run that is over everybody else, regardless of the genre, regardless of the era, regardless of your album sales on vinyl, 8-track, cassette, or CD, or even your MP3s and streams. And that is when Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson create Off the Wall, then Thriller, then Bad. You'll never beat that. Let me say it again. You'll never beat that. You can't. Impossible. Ooh, man, listen. Um, and this is no gas. My life was forever changed when I heard the Bad album in real time. Look, I'm made in the 1980s, but I ain't gonna cap. Look, I had to go back for Off the Wall. Thriller came out when I was like, no, I wasn't even born yet. No, I was just born. I was born. I was like less than maybe like a year old. I just remember the video scaring me at 6, so it's already played into the late 80s. And yeah, hey, and the Wiz started it all. Shout out to my man Jawan. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Hey, the Wiz starts the Michael Jackson run with Quincy Jones. But hey, y'all, well, you should know the history. You should know. We're not telling you how to live your life, but you should know. But yes, man. Hey, listen. Um, my life was forever changed when I saw, the videos for Thriller and Bad. I remember having the vinyl when my mom and I lived on Carroll Street in the 622 building. Well, the duplex. I shouldn't say like a building, like we said, like this big project. We wouldn't. I'm never gonna cap on here, by the way. Um, but I remember just opening up the vinyl book and seeing all the pictures while the record is playing. I remember being in that same house and that last dude face at the end of Thriller came, and I screamed and ran to my mom's room and jumped in the water bed. And I remember waking up like sweating. I was having nightmares from watching that daggone video, bro. And man, to then grow older and mature and age and figure out what Off the Wall is, and then to play Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad through the rest of my teens, my 20s, my 30s, and now my 40s. Man, the music still feels great. The music is still timeless. It's for everybody. I don't think you'll come across a collection of music that is just more inclusive, more innovative, and more just astronomically just different than what they were doing, man. I there's a lot of tandems that exist in the music world. LA and Babyface is, excuse me, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. It's Paul and John Lennon. There's a lot. There's a lot of people, Sonny and Cher, there's a lot of duos. But man, there was absolutely something magical about Quincy and Mike coming together to just create and really just push the envelope for everything that we saw, sounds and sonics, imagery, sounds. And I could have named a bunch of songs that were sampled from Thriller and Bad, but man, you should know those. That's low hanging fruit. That's low hanging fruit at this stage in the game. Yeah, y'all know I love Nas. You don't think I know that they sampled Human Nature for It Ain't Hard to Tell? Do you think I don't know that? Like, come on, dog. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You know the SWV sample by now. By now, y'all should all know that PYT was sampled by Kanye West for Good Life. You should know that. Like, these are just things you should know at this point. I want to give y'all some things that you may not know existed. And but that's just a further testament of how great the work that Mike and Quincy did together. Because decades later, 40 years later, they're still being sampled. And not only does their music live and thrive in its own sector, but the new songs that get created from their work together has another shelf life. I don't think there's any Thriller Bad off the wall samples that aren't also classic. Like Hey Lover by LL Cool J and Boyz II Men is a classic. They sampled Lady in My Life. At least in Houston, Swang by Trey is a classic. Um, you know, um, I can't help it. Fabulous sample that for baby. That doom 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 doom. So okay, maybe that's not like a hit record or a classic, but I love the flip though. I do love it. So saying all that to say, man, um, thank you. Thank you to Quincy Jones. I um I definitely am inspired by just the path that you led, and the trail that you blazed for many of us, all of us that create. You know what I'm saying? I haven't picked up my saxophone in a long time. I never quite got guitar or piano down, but I tell you what, I think I found where my brain functions the greatest and creates the greatest. And I thank you, Quincy Jones, for showing me what to do after my 40th birthday. You know, it's far from over for me as well as other people, you know. Um, if the life of Quincy Jones makes you want to pick up an instrument, write a screenplay, contribute to a soundtrack or a television series, or maybe even just, uh, venture into the world of TV, movie, and music in any capacity, please do it. Please do it. Because it's still art, and art is timeless. Um, I don't think art and culture are things that should be monetized first. And I believe Quincy Jones has a great quote on that. I think it was just like, he never did anything for money. He was like, once you do things for money, then love leaves the building, I believe, is the quote. And man, do I believe that. You know what I'm saying? And there's so much to say. There's so much to acknowledge. But right now, let's just leave it at thank you, and just do your homework, do your research, um, to know where a lot of things come from, whether you feel it's low hanging fruit or not. And just salute to the real legends out here, the real creators, the real contributors to just American history. I don't want to, you can't sum Quincy Jones up as just, oh, this is Black history or this is Black music or, Black culture. No, he contribute to American history, to world history. The things that We Are the World is a world history making moment. You dig? So, man, that's the time I got for y'all today. Oh, we hit 53 minutes. Oh, it's litty. Man, thank you so much for tuning in. Made in the 1980s, another episode will be dropping this week. I will not capture you. I do not know which one. I need to get on my production game. Probably here in a few minutes, if not tomorrow early. Gonna go live tomorrow. I got 2 album reviews to do. Yep, we're gonna try to do 2 in one day, one early, one late. Because there's been an album I've been meaning to just show some love and give some praise to, but I was deadlocked on the album off Saturday night while I was driving, and I definitely want to talk about it. So yes, hey, thank you again so much for tuning in. Until next time, you just know that always and consensually, it's love.